Welcome to another episode of the TomorrowZone Catalyst Podcast. We're following our curiosity and exploring all things technology, innovation, and future possibilities. I'm your host, Deb Reuben, and today I'm talking with Josh Power. He's the founder and owner of Golden Capital LLC. And Josh is on a mission to make commercial lending more accessible, helping businesses secure the right equipment financing and asset-based loans tailored to their needs. With a background in sales and a passion for scaling businesses, he's navigating the exciting but challenging transition from dealmaker to business owner. So I'm excited because we're going to dive into Josh's entrepreneurial journey, and we're going to geek out a little bit as we explore how he has been using AI to drive business growth. And we're going to discuss a little bit of how we see the evolving future of both lending and finance. So Josh, welcome to the show.
Deb, really appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and go over some stuff. I'm really looking forward to diving in and exploring what we do. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to get a chance to talk with you. I met you back in November at NIFA's annual convention. And it was so fun because, first of all, I was really inspired to hear your story about starting up your own company. But then I was presenting on practical adoption of AI, and you were sharing some really interesting things that you're doing as you're growing your business. And so I thought, oh my gosh, we just need to have him on the show and geek out a little bit. So before we dive into all that, though, I would love for you to share a bit of your background and just some of those highlights along the way that led you to what you're doing today at Golden Capital.
Of course. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was great getting to meet you guys at NIFA as well. I thought that presentation you gave was awesome, and I couldn't help myself but spring up my hand every 5 seconds because I had plenty of questions. I know that. Well, to dive into it a little bit, I'd love to give you a little bit of my background. So I grew up in St. Louis, pretty active childhood, really into the outdoors, huge fisherman. I played basketball and golf for my high school there. From there, I decided to continue my education at the University of Kansas, where I specialized in business and entrepreneurship. Also received a professional sales certificate. So that's something. From there, obviously, was living my best life and was given an internship to a local lending firm. I believe that was my junior year at KU. That internship was great, kind of taught me the ins and outs, and I somehow proved to them I was worth keeping on board, where I was then offered full-time position when I graduated. So that following year, I did start my full-time position at this local lending firm. And from there, just kind of learned the ins and the outs, worked my way up from kind of really not knowing what I was doing, right? Getting thrown in the fire. What is leasing? What is lending? What the heck is an EFA loan versus an FMV?
Yep.
Kind of learning the ins and the outs, referring to my CLFP handbook here and there, right?
Awesome. Thanks for the plug.
Of course. But going along with that, yeah, really just kind of learning the ins and outs. And what I focused on there was, I'd say, vendor relationship and sales origination. So I would help the client in establishing their loan, going over rates, going over payment, getting them comfortable and taking the next steps to proceed with whatever loan we set them up with. Typically EFA loans is what I'm most familiar with. And really then my sales side was vendor origination and kind of getting rocking and rolling there. And finally this past year, I did step away and decided to start Golden Capital. So lots of change.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a big leap. So what was it that inspired you to start your own lending business?
Well, really, I just felt the first year, first off, being out of school, learning how to be an adult is one thing, and then learning how to 9 to 5 is a whole nother. So I'd say, first off, just first couple of years, I learned every year more and more, and my sales increased, and I felt like I just felt more comfortable in the space, meeting different mentors, meeting people like yourself, and realizing, man, I think there's more out there. So I decided I felt comfortable enough with my knowledge and skill set to start Golden Capital. And the reason I did that is because I just never wanted to look back and feel like I was ever regretting anything, leaving anything on the table. And just being quite honest, my responsibilities at that time were not very much. I don't have kids. I was living by myself. And I just decided if I'm ever going to take a leap, probably now is the time without too much, pressures from the outside, not too many bills over my head. Let's give it a try. So I stepped away and bit the bullet, and it has been a year and a half of learning, to say the least.
Yes. I understand that the leap from employment to entrepreneurship, and it's a big leap. And I'm so fascinated by your story. I'm curious, Josh, were there people around you? Because not everybody has the type of confidence that you had to actually make a decision like that. And I'm just curious, like what contributed to you like feeling that level of confidence that you could just go for it?
Well, there's a couple things. So my original job was a commission-only position with a draw, right? So I think the biggest thing was didn't necessarily feel like I was leaving anything on the table. A great paying job, but at the end of the day, it was what I was bringing to the table that what I was getting paid for. So I did feel like it was actually, me going out and selling was the reason I was making those paychecks. Now, to answer your exact question on this actually resonates with me quite a bit, because one of my biggest mentors, my grandpa, actually maybe didn't advise taking the jump. And same with my family. It's like, Josh, you have a great job. It pays well. You have freedoms. You're happy. Why would you want to make more work for yourself? Which is definitely something maybe I didn't realize of, wow, being an entrepreneur actually is way more work. So really, I did have family support with the decision, but I just decided it was time for me to take the jump and do it. So even with my family's support, I would say there was still some hesitation for sure, if that answers your question.
Yeah. It's beautiful. So a year and a half in, how's it going?
It's actually kind of blowing up in front of my face, to be honest. So the first, I would say, 3 to 5 months are really platform building, figuring out who my mentors are, getting associated with some good associations around our kind of platform. For example, NIFA, AACFB have both been great platforms for me, meeting other facilitators, meeting different lenders, and honestly, just getting kind of my foot in the door of, wow, there's a lot in this, and there's a lot of people that are very helpful in this space. So I think I've utilized my mentorship, I guess you could call it a tree of people, pretty well, but really just still learning every day. To answer your exact question, 3 to 5 months, setting up the platform, getting right CRMs in place, getting lenders that are willing to work with us, proving worth working with. And then probably after that 5 months, 6 months range, we really started to go back out there and sell. And we focus on vendor origination again. So I'd say 90% of our business does come from vendor origination, which is someone selling a piece of equipment. They call Josh, need a loan. Let's make something happen. So after that first 6 months, all sales. And now it's really trying to establish better lines of communication with our current lenders, improving and streamlining our processes internally, because as you know, time kills deals. So really just trying to streamline our processes, feel like I'm learning every day. And I'm not just a salesman anymore, but I'm an accountant, I'm HR, feel like I'm doing it all. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think the thing that entrepreneurship can look like an amazing adventure, but also you end up wearing all the hats in the business at some point. So that's definitely a learning curve. One of the things I really enjoy about you is that you're curious and continually learning. As you are watching what's going on in the industry and you're out there connecting, what trends or shifts are you seeing in the industry, especially for businesses needing equipment financing?
So I'd say 2 big trends that I'm seeing. One is maybe going off of equipment, but I find a lot of my clients recently have actually been opting in to go to purchasing used equipment versus new. And I think just because depreciation is so high with new assets, I am seeing that a little bit of a trend that a lot of my clients that even in the past have bought new have been opting out to do used equipment, no matter, truck, trailer, bobcat, skid steer. I'm just finding that used equipment is holding its value still really strong. If you can get a good deal on it and know how to sometimes be handy around fixing stuff up, sometimes used can be a better option for clients instead of opting for that new equipment. In regards to like kind of the trends I'm seeing as a whole, I know you're shocked by this, but just everything getting digitalized. I mean, I remember when I first started working, every document we had signed would be, we're printing it out, we're mailing it, we're overnighting it back. And I haven't done one deal in, I think, 3 years that wasn't DocuSign.
Yeah.
Or at least electronically signed. So I would say really the trend of shifting away from paperless, which I think was needed to, again, streamline processes. But I'd say those are probably the two biggest things I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I remember back in, it was March of 2020, right before the world shut down with lockdowns and such. And I was leading an executive roundtable event for the equipment finance industry. And one of the big topics was, how can we drive adoption of e-signatures in this industry? And it was like, well, by the next week, everybody had to.
Well, it was like, what are you supposed to do? And especially, I remember when COVID happened, I went from pretty much every day going out and shaking hands and meeting with vendors to, whoa, I'm cold calling again. I'm scheduling Zooms now, which, was a new thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that, necessity required a lot of innovation in how we do things. And, it's kind of exciting because it was one of the things that drove a lot of adoption of digital business to business transaction and interaction compared to what the world was like before, so like for enthusiasts like us who embrace technology and adopt digital and intelligent automation, it kind of changed the game because the world is coming up to speed with where we want to be.
Exactly. I will say it was quite a bit of a culture shock for me, or I guess a shift, because I was so used to going in somewhere, shaking someone's hand, putting on a big smile, and all of a sudden, wait, no handshakes. You also have to wear a mask, so no smile. So it was just a little bit harder of a sell, I would say, for those 6 months as the world was upside down, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I mean, we had to learn how to build relationships in a whole new way. So, I mean, that's kind of a great segue to my next question for you. One of the things I did want to dive into with you is, what role do you see technology, especially AI, playing in your business now? And what do you see for the future as you continue to grow?
So I think this is a great question, and there's kind of a lot to unpack here, honestly. But just to start from the top, I mean, the way AI is already shifting my day-to-day and my workflow, I do just use like ChatGPT or even like Microsoft's AI. But I have the paid version on ChatGPT, which does allow you to do some more things than just the standardized version, and also keeps our data for our company in one facility. So that's, good for security purposes. But just to dive into it, I'll give you an example. And I think this is the one I actually gave you at NIFA of how I like to use it, but still, I would say get the personalized touch while using AI. So we're not losing the kind of person-to-person connection. So as I mentioned, I do a lot of vendor origination. That's where most of our deals come from. So I take a lot of time, probably a couple times a week, and I pick sometimes a week where I just go shake hands. But let's just say I'll go in ChatGPT and I'll come up with, I'm based in Overland Park, Kansas, by the way, if I mentioned that. But I'll go in there and say, give me every equipment dealer under, plus 50,000 or under 50,000, whatever the volume is, for everything construction related within a 50-mile radius of my current location, include addresses, phone numbers. And shockingly enough, ChatGPT, if you do it correctly and give it the right prompt, can typically give you a roadmap on where to go, what stop makes the most sense, how to do it a round trip. And I then take that information that AI provided me and connect it to my personal self, which is perfect. I now have a list of people I can go into, stop at, make the personal connection. But as you know, without AI, I'd be going through, at least Google searches, finding every equipment dealer does this, writing down their address, figuring out the best way to get there. And even before that, it would have been breaking out the phone book and figuring out these people. So to think that I can come up with a list of 100 different vendors within 5 minutes and make a roadmap for myself to go stop at, it's just time saving. So I can focus on making those real connections with those vendors and hopefully coming in and simplifying their financing process for their clients.
I love that story so much because, a lot of times I talk with people and they're afraid that AI is going to replace them or that it removes the human to human touch in the sales relationship building. And that's not the case at all, because in your story, it amplifies the capabilities for you. And I loved what you shared when we were in Indianapolis, and I was asking, the audience, what are some ways you're using AI today? And just kind of getting a peer-to-peer sharing. And you're like, yeah, so on the way here from Kansas, I mapped out using ChatGPT a route, and I visited like 31 dealers on the way here. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant. I actually came home and I told my husband about that story, because I'm like, this is what it means to be a go-getter in an AI world.
I think there's something just being said of going in, asking for, a sales manager and or a finance rep, and just trying to offer what we can do. But I wouldn't be able to do that without AI. It would have taken me 5 hours to come up with that list. So yes.
Yeah. So are you finding other ways that it's enhancing your ability to grow your business? How many people do you have, and have you found any new?
Right now, yeah, I'm the sole owner. We do have some contractors in the sales side for us. We also have a sales manager that helps delegate deals. I think we're a team of about 6 contractors, including our sales manager. So
wow, you're growing since we last talked.
Yeah, actually quite a bit. It was just Josh in a spreadsheet, but I realized for growth, I got to start delegating, and I'm trying to be better about it. I'm trying, truly.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
But the team all has a login to ChatGPT. I try to have them use it as much as possible to do the things I do, and make lists, get conventions listed out, get phone lists, etc. But really, I just want to touch back, if you're curious, on that NIFA thing. Not that your audience cares or not, but on that exact trip, I asked ChatGPT. I was going to Indianapolis. I said, give me every equipment dealer between here and Kansas City that sells XYZ. And it did come up with a list of, I think, 35. And out of those, I did stop at 31. So
wow.
I don't want to give all my tips and tricks here, but that really worked well for me, to say the least.
That's such a good one. It's like, this is what's available to us, but it's all about your ambition and your commitment to take action, really.
Well, I appreciate that. But to dive back on our question right now, we're slowly growing the team. I think we're at a comfortable spot right now where I can still oversee and feel involved. But we're just trying to refine our processes, get the right CRM, always trying to better ourselves every day, it feels like.
That's great. So I wanted to just kind of go back to your journey as an entrepreneur. What have been some of your biggest lessons in leadership as you're building your business? Building a team is not for the faint of heart. So what are you learning along the way?
Oh boy, I'm learning every day, to say the least. So I would say it's also about having people. So I think, as we've done, being able to delegate, like, look, Josh, I'm not going to be able to do it all every day. So understanding that, holding someone's hand as they sometimes, figure out a new portal or figure out something so they can then do it on their own and work towards it. So I think becoming maybe not just I'm going to do it, but trying to learn how to be a little bit more of a teacher, right? And taking the time to sit down with either my rep or my sales manager so we can come up with creative ideas to expedite our workflows, to do better. And we're pretty data centric. So we do track, approval rates, different types of how many applications we see in versus how they get turned over. So we're pretty data driven on how we do expedite our numbers and up our close rates. So to answer your exact question, just learning how to delegate a little bit more and not trying to be here's how to do it, but let's figure out a way that we can do it better, right? And being open to suggestions and improvements as well.
And when we were first starting our conversation, you mentioned that you're kind of an outdoorsman. You really love to, do sports and fishing and all sorts of things. So, building a business, they can be overwhelming and all consuming. So how are you managing the pressures of running a growing business while still making time for those personal passions?
Well, that's a very great question. I still want to cut out time for my family, my wonderful girlfriend, our new puppy, who's a year old now. But if it says anything, I moved into a house with my girlfriend, I got a puppy, and started a business. So I pretty much did everything under the moon last year. 2024 was quite a year. I have a lunch meeting here, and then 3 to 5 is pure sales, or making sure all my vendors are happy. So to answer your question, I think really just boxing out my time has been super helpful. Yeah. But there's still times where, oh my gosh, it's 12 o'clock at night and there's still work to be done. It needs to get done. I don't know who else is going to do it, right?
Yeah. The to-do list never ends when you're the owner. But I agree with you on the time boxing. That's something I have been practicing for a really long time. It's so efficient, and it really does help you to set up boundaries. And the trick though is to keep those promises to yourself and put those time boxes on your calendar and you honor them. And,
well, even after
and that's tempting to give them away, right?
Exactly. Well, I get home after a long day. It's 5. My girlfriend works a full-time job as well. And so she does the 9 to 5. But, we get home and it says, we're going to hit the gym at 6 o'clock. And we look at each other and we're both tired. It's like, well, no, like we know this will be better in the long run. So sometimes even when you do look at those things like, oh my gosh, it's scheduled. Well, it's there for a reason, right? Like anyone could just push something off, but let's knock it out, feel better after. And then I think a big one too on the entrepreneurship side is, you probably know this better than anyone, but your brain never turns off. I'm laying in bed, it's like 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh, did I submit that? Or oops, did I call so-and-so? It's like, pick a time. And I typically make that around 7 o'clock at my house where I'm putting my phone up. No more work email, no more nothing. If there's something needs to get done, well, then maybe it's when Macy, my girlfriend, falls asleep and it's time to get back on the computer and iron some stuff out. But I really try to be respectful of her time and make sure that when I am home, I'm still not thinking about business and still got to separate a little bit. There's a personal life.
It's a constant balancing act for sure.
Correct.
So let's kind of shift our focus a little bit to the future. So what is your vision for the future of Golden Capital? I know you're just starting, but like, where do you want to go?
Oh boy. Well, we are trying to make some waves to say the least. So right now we're just kind of an advocate, right? So this year we are really hoping to maybe syndicate and or discount some internal paper. That is probably our 1 to 5 year plan, is to really try to start doing some internal lending on our own dime. It's not going to be something easy by any means, but if a clean deal comes up that's local, I do believe we'll maybe take a shot on it. So that would be the biggest transition. Other upgrades we're trying to make is just streamlining our processes. How do we make sure when an application comes in, it is in underwriting in less than X amount of time, right? Mm-hmm. Cutting out all the unnecessary multiple emails, having everything in one place. See, when you open it up, you can pull up every attachment, a deal description, what everything is in one place, just to streamline our processes better. And then really, ideally this year, hopefully we make it to, 10 million finance potentially. And then the next 5 years, I would love to break, I'm just throwing out some ballpark numbers that would make Josh happy. But realistically, I'd love to see 20 million next couple of years and maybe even 50 million if the team's growing. I just think that it's limitless. There's lots of potential out there. If you want to go find it, it's there. So I think endless possibilities.
I love that mindset. So the final question I want to ask you is something that I ask every guest on our show. So what is one thing that leaders can do today to shape a more awesome future?
That is a great question. Honestly, when I sit back and kind of reflect on this might sound a little weird, but I just think understanding as the world is so sped up nowadays. Yeah, hold on with me here. But as we can transition from being pretty much someone that back in the day used to write something in the mail, it would take 5 days for someone to get an answer. We are now living in a world where everyone needs something simultaneously. They need an answer now. It's, hey, I have an offer here, left, right, and center. It's like, slow everything down sometimes, realize that people are people, business is business. But taking the time to respect people's time in this day and age, I think is huge. So to answer your question exactly, respecting people in their personal privacies, not just in business, right? Like if it's 8 o'clock at night, probably shouldn't be emailing someone about business and or texting them. Like stuff can wait. Business is always going to be there, but your personal life is really important. And that's going to shape who you are, on and off business professional side. So I think just sometimes taking a step back and realizing people are people, not just business, is going to be huge for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I love that people first approach to business. Josh, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Oh, this has been great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you at some next conventions too.
Yeah, I can't wait till we catch up again. This has been such a fun conversation. To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and continue to make awesome happen.